Jason Brooks and his friends wandered into a fashion boutique in Oak Ridge, Louisiana. At the back, a row of mannequins caught their attention, until one stopped Jason in his tracks cold. The face, the bone structure, the crooked nose from childhood. It looked so much like his best friend, Noah, who had gone missing for 6 months. Jason touched the mannequin's face. The skin felt wrong, not plastic. Something else was underneath. But when they called the police, nobody believed them. Would anyone ever see the truth? March 2018, Oak Ridge, Louisiana. Noah Dalton stood in his small bedroom, 24, straightening his tie in the mirror. His best outfit, black thrift store suit, crisp white shirt, ironed by his mother that morning. Tonight mattered, the biggest night of his life. Victor Grante's spring fashion showcase at the Oak Ridge Convention Center. Every aspiring model would be there. Photographers, agents, real opportunities. His phone buzzed. Text from Jason Brooks. "Good luck tonight, bro. You got this." Noah grinned. This could be it. Grante's connected. Could lead to real agency work. "Proud of you, man. Call me after." He slipped his phone in his pocket and grabbed his portfolio. Photos from a local photographer. $200 he'd saved from his auto parts job. His mother, Monique, appeared in the doorway. 52, still in nurse scrubs from her shift. "You look amazing, baby." Her voice thick with pride. "Thanks, Mom." He hugged her. "I'll call you when it's over. I probably will get late getting home. Drive safely." "Noah," she cupped his face. "I'm proud of you. You're going to do great things. Love you, baby. Love you more." That was the last time Monique Dalton saw her son alive. Noah arrived at the convention center at 7. Showcase started at 8. Checked in, grabbed a name tag, walked inside. The main hall was buzzing. Runway at the center. Lights, music, models, photographers, agents. Victor Grante stood nearby, 54, Italian. Perfectly dressed in a designer suit, talking to someone important. Noah's chest tightened. This was it. The show began. Models walked the runway. Noah observed, made small talk, collected numbers and business cards. Around 10, a tap on his shoulder. "Noah Dalton?" He turned. "Victor Grante. Right there." "Yes, sir. That's me." Victor smiled, stretched forth his hand. "I've been watching you tonight. You have the look I'm searching for." His face stopped Victor mid-step. "You have a sharp bone structure. Balance features, too. The kind that reads clean under harsh lights." "Ever worked professionally?" Victor asked. "Nothing major," Noah said. "Mostly small shoots. I'm still trying to get in." Victor nodded slowly. "I'm preparing a new menswear release. I need someone who carries presence, not just looks." He paused. "You have that?" From his jacket, Victor produced a card, heavy, minimalist, embossed in gold. "Tomorrow evening. 7 sharp. My design workspace is behind the boutique. Merino Couture. Main Street." Noah accepted it, his fingers unsteady. "Yes, thank you. I won't disappoint." "Call me Victor," he said easily. "This meeting could change things for you." Then he was gone. Noah stayed where he was, staring down at the card like it might disappear. His breathing felt shallow. This was real. This was the break. The event ended late. On the drive home, Noah called his mother. "Mama, a designer noticed me. He wants a private session." Her joy exploded through the phone. "I knew it. I knew your time was coming. He called Jason next. Man, Marino wants me in his studio." Jason laughed. "That's it, bro. This is your moment." They talked until midnight. New cities, new money, new lives. Noah pictured himself leaving Oak Ridge behind for good. No more doubt. No more waiting. The next night, March 17th, Noah arrived exactly on time. He parked where he'd been told, behind the building, out of sight. The workshop door opened before he knocked. "Right on time," Victor said warmly. Inside, everything looked legitimate. Professional lighting, mannequins, fabric samples laid out with precision. Victor filled 2 glasses with champagne. "A small toast," he said. "To what comes next?" Noah hesitated. "I don't usually drink." "1 sip," Victor replied. "You've earned it." Noah drank. The taste was smooth, luxurious, convincing. They talked about fashion, image, control, about how quickly success can arrive. Then Noah's thoughts slowed. "I feel off," he said quietly, "like I could sleep standing up." Victor's voice softened. "Then don't fight it." The room tilted. Noah never felt himself hit the floor. 3 days later, his car was discovered in a public parking structure near the convention center. The engine cold, the keys still inside. His phone had no power. There were no signs of a struggle, just silence where a future had been. Monique reported her son missing the morning she could no longer pretend something was delayed. She told detectives about the designer, about the private meeting, about the name on the card. Police followed up. Victor Marino confirmed it. Yes, Noah had stopped by. They spoke briefly about potential work. Noah left before 9. He appeared upbeat, motivated, no distress. Investigators found nothing else, no witnesses, no surveillance, no physical evidence. They checked call logs, bank activity, travel records. Nothing out of place. 3 weeks later, the file was marked inactive. The conclusion was simple. Noah had chosen to leave. Atlanta. New York. That was the assumption. Young men chasing opportunity, reinventing themselves. It happened all the time. Monique rejected that answer immediately. Her son called her every day, without fail. For 24 years, he would never vanish without a word, but certainty carried no authority. She had no influence, no resources, no one willing to push harder. Still, she searched. For 6 months, she filed follow-up reports, phoned precincts weekly, walked into offices where no one looked up. She borrowed money she couldn't afford and hired a private investigator. When the money ran out, so did the investigation. The calls stopped coming back. The doors closed quietly. Noah Dalton became a line in a database. Another unresolved disappearance. Another black man reduced to numbers. Until September. 6 months after Noah vanished, Jason Brooks was living 50 miles outside Oak Ridge, deep in farm country. One road in, one road out. The kind of place where strangers were noticed. He worked full-time at a local auto shop. 26 years old, modest life, steady routine, but it felt incomplete. Jason and Noah had been inseparable since childhood. Same schools, same streets, same dreams. Noah wasn't just a friend. He was the brother Jason never had. When Noah disappeared, something inside Jason went quiet. He'd contacted police more times than he could count, pressed them to re-examine Victor Marino, asked questions no one wanted to answer. The response never changed. No evidence, no crime. Adults are allowed to leave. Jason shared a small rental with 2 friends, Braxton Hayes and Devontae Campbell, all working class, all scraping by. Once a month, they made the long drive into Oak Ridge for supplies and errands. Same route, same stops. In September, they added one more. Merino Couture. Braxton had heard the designer had expanded. New space, larger storefront. They couldn't afford a single item inside, but that wasn't the point. They just wanted to see it. The place tied to the last night Noah had been excited about his future. The storefront stopped them before they even reached the door. Wide glass windows stretched along Main Street. Gold lettering gleamed under the lights, Merino Couture. Everything about it announced money, taste, exclusion. Devontae slowed. "Yeah, we don't fit in here." Jason didn't answer. He reached for the handle and pulled. Inside felt detached from reality. The ceiling rose higher than expected. The floors reflected light like mirrors. Soft music floated through the space, slow and deliberate. Every step felt louder than it should have. The front displays were filled with women's pieces, mannequins posed elegantly, draped in gowns that looked untouchable. Price tags hung discreetly but screamed anyway. 3,000, 5,000, more. Jason swallowed. A sales associate approached them. Young, polished, black. Her name tag read Marilyn. "Good afternoon. Can I help you gentlemen with anything?" "Just looking," Jason said quickly. She smiled, professional and neutral, then returned to her station near the register. They moved deeper into the store, past the dresses, past the spotlighted displays, toward the back, where the lighting dimmed and the air felt cooler. A small sign hung overhead. Men's collection. Clearance. The section felt neglected. Quiet. 5 male mannequins stood arranged in formal poses, each dressed in tailored suits. Jason stopped. His breath caught so sharply it hurt. In the far corner stood one mannequin apart from the rest. Dark skin, charcoal suit, neutral stance, the face. His vision narrowed. His heartbeat thundered in his ears. "Oh my God," he whispered. Braxton turned. "What?" Jason didn't respond. He stepped forward without realizing he was moving. One step, then another, closer now. The cheekbones, the jaw, the nose. His voice broke. "That's Noah," Braxton scoffed nervously. "Come on, man. It's plastic." Jason grabbed his arm, fingers digging in. "The nose," he said urgently. "We were 12. Bike accident. It healed crooked. See the angle?" He pointed. "And the scar above the eyebrow. Chicken pox. 3rd grade." Devante leaned in, eyes narrowing. Jason's hands shook as he pulled out his phone. He scrolled frantically, opened Instagram, found a photo from February. 1 week before Noah disappeared. Noah smiling, alive. Jason held the phone up beside the mannequin's face. They matched, not close, exact. The bend of the nose, the scar placement, the ears, the bone structure, even the tiny mole on the left cheek. Details no sculptor could guess. Holy. Braxton's voice dropped. "That looks like him." Devante slowly reached out and touched the mannequin's face. He recoiled instantly. "That's not plastic," he said quietly. The room felt smaller, and suddenly the clearance section didn't feel forgotten at all. "That's not plastic." Devante said it again, quieter this time. He pressed his fingers to the face once more, slowly, deliberately. His expression shifted. "This feels coated, like there's something beneath it." He pulled his hand back, then touched it again. "Careful now. It's warm," he said. "Not store warm, not lights. Warm. Mannequins were always cold. This wasn't." Jason's knees weakened. He reached out, barely able to steady himself, and touched the cheek. Devante was right. The surface resisted in the wrong way. Not smooth, not solid. Something sealed over something else. And beneath it, heat, not imagination. Not nerves, heat. "This is Noah," Jason said, his voice stripped flat. "They did this to him. We need to call police." Jason's voice was hollow right now. Outside the store, the afternoon sun burned against the sidewalk. Shoppers passed. Cars rolled by. Life continued unaware. Jason's hands shook as he dialed. 911, what's your emergency? "I need police at Merino Couture on Main Street in Oak Ridge," he said quickly. "I found my missing friend. He's inside the store." A pause. "Sir, he's been turned into a mannequin." Silence stretched. "Can you repeat that?" Jason swallowed. "My best friend Noah Dalton vanished 6 months ago. I'm looking at him right now, his face, his body. Someone needs to come immediately." The operator hesitated. "Are you saying a mannequin resembles your friend?" "No," Jason said sharply. "I'm saying it is him. The nose injury from when we were kids, the scar above his eyebrow. Every detail. This is urgent." The tone shifted. Polite, distant. "Units will be dispatched when available. Can you remain on site?" "Yes," Jason said. "Please hurry." He ended the call and turned to Braxton and Devante. "They're sending someone." Time dragged. An hour passed, then another. Jason called again. Different operator. Same explanation. His voice cracked with frustration. "My friend is dead. He's inside that store." The response was calm, rehearsed. "Your report has been logged. Higher priority incidents are currently being addressed." "This is a homicide," Jason snapped. "Sir, officers will respond when available." 3 more hours crawled by. The store lights dimmed slightly. Closing time approaching. Finally, a patrol car pulled up. One officer stepped out. Young, white, mid-20s. His name tag read Chun. His posture said this was already an inconvenience. "You're the ones who called about a mannequin?" "Yes," Jason said, standing. "My friend Noah Dalton, missing since March. That mannequin is him." Officer Chun exhaled through his nose. "All right, show me." They walked back inside. The moment they granted the threshold, a woman appeared from behind the counter, sharp, suit, controlled smile. Marilyn Green, store manager. Marilyn's posture shifted instantly. Professional, alert, controlled. Officers, she said evenly. Is there an issue? Officer Schenk gestured toward Jason without hiding his skepticism. These gentlemen believe one of your mannequins is actually a missing person. Marilyn blinked, genuinely startled. Her eyes moved from the officer to the three men. No, that can't be right. Our mannequins are custom imports. High-end suppliers overseas. Which one? Schenk asked. They guided him toward the rear of the store. The lighting dimmed again as they reached the men's section. Jason stopped and pointed. That one, he said. The gray suit. Officer Schenk studied it briefly. That's Noah Dalton, Jason continued, unlocking his phone. Look, he held up a photo. Noah smiling, taken weeks before he vanished. Schenk glanced between the image and the mannequin for less than a second. Then he stepped forward and rapped his knuckles sharply against its chest. The sound echoed. Empty. Hollow fiberglass, Schenk said. Or resin. Standard build. Some are designed to be extremely realistic. But the face, Jason said, panic rising. The nose broke when we were kids, the scar, the mole. Schenk had already turned away. High-end mannequins are meant to resemble idealized people, he said flatly. Sometimes they look familiar. That doesn't mean anything. It's not familiar, Jason insisted. It's exact. Please, just test it. DNA. Anything. Prove me wrong. Schenk stopped, pulled his arm free when Jason reached for him. His expression hardened. We are not damaging private property based on perceived resemblance, he said. Filing false emergency reports is a chargeable offense. Do not call us again for this. He left the section without another word. The space felt suddenly colder. Jason turned to Marilyn, desperation breaking through. He showed her the photo again. Please, just look. Really look. She compared the phone to the mannequin longer this time. Her expression softened, just slightly. I can see why you're upset, she said carefully. There is a resemblance. But mannequins are designed to be attractive, lifelike. Customers mistake them for people all the time. That's not resemblance, Jason snapped. That's my friend. The nose healed wrong in a specific way. The scar is exact. The mole is exact. People were watching now. Whispers traveled. Attention settled over the section. A large man stepped in, security. Tall, broad. Gray at the temples. His badge read Carlton Edwards. Sir, he said calmly, you need to lower your voice. I am calm, Jason said, shaking. I just need someone to listen. Carlton's hand hovered near his belt. Sir, what seems to be the issue? A new voice answered before Jason could. Smooth, confident, controlled. What's going on here? Everyone turned. Victor Marino stood at the entrance to the section. Silver hair, immaculate tailoring, the kind of presence that reshaped a room the moment it arrived. His suit looked like it cost more than Jason's truck, maybe more than his house. Marilyn moved quickly to him, explaining in low tones. Victor listened without interrupting. Then he looked at the mannequin. Victor listened as Marilyn summarized the situation. The accusation, the mannequin, the resemblance. He approached the display slowly, studied the face, then turned his attention to the phone Jason held out. For a moment his expression softened. I'm truly sorry for your loss, Victor said quietly. Grief has a way of filling in gaps. When someone disappears, the mind searches for answers. Sometimes where none exist. He motioned toward the mannequin. This piece was commissioned from Milan. Custom fabrication. $18,000. One of a kind. Then test it, Jason said, his voice fracturing. If I'm wrong, prove it. Something in Victor's eyes shut off. The warmth vanished. His tone flattened. You are interfering with my business. You're upsetting customers and disrupting operations. Carlton stepped closer, close enough to block Jason's path. We just want the truth, Jason said, fists clenched. That's all. The truth, Victor replied evenly, is that you are accusing my company over a store display. He straightened. You are no longer welcome here. Any of you. Return again and I will pursue trespassing charges. He glanced at Carlton. Please escort them out." There was no argument, no negotiation. Carlton guided them toward the entrance. Firm hands, controlled pressure. Final. They found themselves back on the sidewalk, the store doors closing behind them like a verdict. Jason called the police again. Different officer. Same outcome. "Sir," the voice said sharply, "Officer Schenk already addressed this. Continued calls will result in charges for false reporting. This is your final warning." The call disconnected. Jason stared at his phone, then at Braxton, then Devante. "No one's listening," he said quietly. "We don't matter." They were three men from nowhere, no status, no leverage, no one to force the truth into the open. And Marino. Wealthy, respected, protected. The system chose its side. They drove back toward the countryside in silence. But Jason didn't leave Noah behind. He carried him home in his chest, in his bones, in the certainty that refused to loosen its grip, that Mannequin wasn't art. It wasn't coincidence. It was Noah. 2 weeks passed, the longest 2 weeks of Jason's life. Sleep wouldn't come. Food lost its taste. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw that corner of the store, his friend standing motionless, dressed for display, not as a person, as an object, and no one would help him prove it. Most people will scroll away and forget this ever happened, but not you. You have stayed. So please subscribe, because some mind-blowing stories are coming your way. Also comment where you are watching from and the time. Let's go on. The image wouldn't release him. Every time Jason closed his eyes, the same details surfaced. The uneven bridge of the nose, the faint scar above the brow, the tiny mark on the cheek. Not vague similarities, exact matches. Too precise to dismiss, too personal to ignore. But knowing something and proving it were not the same. Police had shut the door. The boutique had barred him. He had no authority, no money, no leverage, only certainty. And that certainty left him with one choice. Noah's mother had to know, even if it changed nothing. Even if no one acted, she deserved the truth, or at least the possibility of it. On Sunday afternoon, Jason drove out to her place. The house sat quietly in the countryside. Small, well-kept. Paint a little faded, but everything in its place. A home maintained with care, not money. He knocked. Monique opened the door and smiled instinctively when she saw him. "Jason, baby, come in." Then she read his face. The smile dissolved. "What's wrong?" Inside, Noah was everywhere. Photos lined the walls, shelves, tabletops. Baby pictures, school portraits, a graduation cap, a modeling headshot. 6 months of hope and heartbreak arranged carefully, lovingly. Evidence of a mother who refused to let her son disappear. They sat at the kitchen table, the same table where homework had been done, where dinners had been shared, where futures had once been talked into existence. Monique put water on the stove. Tea. She always made tea when things were serious. Some habits never changed. Jason wrapped both hands around the mug when she set it in front of him. The warmth didn't help. He couldn't find the opening. "Just say it," she said softly. Her hands shook around her cup. So he told her about the drive into Oak Ridge, the stop at Merino Couture, the forgotten section in the back, the mannequin in the gray suit, the moment he recognized the face. He described every detail. The nose bent the way it healed after the bike crash she'd rushed him to the hospital for. The faint scar from chickenpox when Noah was 5. The mole on his cheek she used to kiss when he was a baby. He told her about calling the police. Again and again. About the officer who barely looked. About being dismissed. About being banned. About being warned to stop calling or face charges. Monique never interrupted. Tears slid down her face, silent and constant. Her hands trembled until tea spilled acre at the table, unnoticed. When Jason finished, the room went still. She sat there for a long time. Then, barely above a whisper, she asked, "You truly believe that was my son?" Jason met her eyes. "Miss Monique," he said, steady despite the weight in his chest. "I grew up with Noah. I know his face the way you know your own child's. That mannequin was him." He swallowed. "I don't know how, I don't know what they did, but I know what I saw." Monique rose without a word, and C granted the room. She opened a cabinet and removed a thick folder, edges worn from handling. She placed it gently on the table between them. Brr. Inside was her life for the past 6 months. Police reports. OTS from a private investigator. .br. Receipts she shouldn't have had to keep. Br. OGs of unanswered calls. Lipped articles that said very little and meant even less. Brr. They told me he chose to leave, she said quietly. That he went to a bigger city. That modeling took him away. Bar. Our voice wavered. Bar. But Noah called me every day. Every single day. For 24 years. You don't just stop doing that. Bar. He lowered herself back into the chair. I felt it, she continued, from the first night. Something wasn't right. Bar. He described the weekly calls to the station, the monthly reports, the investigator she hired with money borrowed and never replaced. 2 months of searching before the funds ran out. Nothing found, no follow-up. They said I was wasting their time, she said, that my son was grown and allowed to disappear. She looked at Jason then. But mothers know, she said softly. We know our children. I knew something happened to my baby. I knew it. Her voice broke apart before she could finish. She folded in on herself, grief shaking through her body. Jason stood, moved to her side, and held her as they cried together, years of fear finally given permission to surface. When she could breathe again, Monique wiped her face and straightened. The strength Jason remembered was still there. What if I go there myself? She asked. As a customer. Just browsing. They don't know me. Jason understood immediately. I can see it with my own eyes, she said. No, for sure. He nodded. When? Tomorrow, she replied. I'll take the day off. I'll drive you, Jason said, then hesitated. But I can't go in. I'm banned. That's fine, she said firmly. I'll go alone. Her voice didn't shake. I can do anything for my son. Monday morning, Jason drove her into Oak Ridge. He parked 2 blocks away from Marino Couture. Too close would risk trouble. He stayed with the engine off. Monique sat beside him, composed. Navy dress, pearls at her throat. Church clothes, respectable, unassuming. A woman who belonged anywhere she chose to walk into. She inhaled slowly. Pray for me, she said. You've got this, Jason replied. She stepped out of the truck and headed toward Main Street. Jason watched until she disappeared around the corner. Then he waited, heart pounding, praying she was wrong, praying she was right, unsure which truth would be harder to survive. Monique stepped into Marino Couture. A soft chime announced her arrival. Marilyn Green looked up from behind the counter, her greeting smooth and practiced. Good morning. Welcome to Marino Couture. Can I help you find anything today? Monique returned a calm smile. Just looking, thank you. Take your time. Let me know if you need anything. She moved slowly through the boutique, forcing herself to linger, to act like any ordinary customer. Fabric brushes against her fingertips. Price tags inspected with faint interest. Every sound, every movement measured. Her chest pounded, but she held herself steady. Every instinct screamed to rush straight to the back. But she didn't. Not yet. 15 minutes passed. She drifted naturally toward the rear of the store. Men's collection. Clearance. Dimmer lighting. 5 mannequins clustered in a corner, their poses casual but deliberate. Her eyes landed immediately on him. Far corner. Male figure. Black skin. Charcoal gray designer suit. Her world tilted. It was Noah. Her baby. Her son. Everything she'd ever held close. The face she had cradled at birth. Red. Wailing. Perfect. The face she kissed each night for 18 years. The face she watched grow in snapshots from boyhood to manhood. The face she had memorized from countless photos over 6 long months. The crooked nose, she had seen it break at 12. The sharp crash of the bike, the cries, the pavement beneath him. She had driven him to the emergency room, held his hand, watched as the doctors explained it would heal at an angle, giving him character, making him unmistakably Noah. The faint scar above the left brow, etched from chickenpox at 5. She had tried to keep him from scratching, had treated the spots, but he always managed one. Permanent. Tiny but unmistakable. The birthmark on his left cheek, a small beauty mark the nurse had pointed out when he was born. She kissed it every day. This was him. Her son. Alive, yet trapped in plain sight. Her legs faltered. She gripped a nearby clothing rack, forcing herself to breathe, to stay silent, to not alarm anyone. She had to be careful. She needed to see clearly before anyone noticed. Step by step, she moved closer, pretending to inspect the charcoal suit. Within 2 feet now, close enough to study the face fully, the surface shimmered slightly, coated, almost unnatural. Her heart raced. This was Noah, and she needed to be certain. Not the cold, glossy surface of ordinary mannequins. Something underneath, a texture that didn't belong, slightly off, unnatural. Monique extended her hand cautiously, adjusting the collar of the suit. A normal customer's touch, innocent, plausible. Her fingers brushed the neck for only a second, long enough to feel what was wrong. The temperature was strange, warm, faintly so. Not room temperature, not what a mannequin should feel. And the texture beneath the coating wasn't hard plastic. It was almost like skin, preserved, treated, still skin. Her breath hitched. She drew her hand back slowly, pulling out her phone. Pretending to text, she snapped photos from multiple angles. The profile, the nose, the scar, the mole. Everything. Evidence. Proof. Something to show the police if they would ever listen. Stepping back, she forced herself to glance at the other mannequins. Had to appear normal. Just another shopper. She drifted toward the women's section, browsing for 10 minutes, selecting a small scarf. $20. Every move calculated to establish herself as an ordinary customer, not someone lurking, not someone noticed. At the register, Marilyn rang her purchase. "Did you find everything you needed?" "Yes, thank you," Monique replied, her voice steady. "Beautiful store. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day." She walked out calmly, every step measured. 2 blocks later, she reached Jason's truck, climbed in, and closed the door. Then her body gave way. She collapsed into the seat, shaking, sobbing. Sounds tore from her that she hadn't known she could make. Sounds of heartbreak, 6 months of hope evaporating. The horror of a truth no parent should ever confront. Jason held her silently. No questions. He didn't need to ask. Her reaction said it all. When she could speak, words came in broken fragments. That's my son. That's Noah." Oh God, Jason. What did they do to him? What did they do? By Tuesday afternoon, her kitchen table was a battlefield of evidence. Photos sprawled acrant the surface, laptop open, research materials scattered. Every angle, every shot confirmed it. That was Noah, but how could they make anyone listen? Police wouldn't investigate. The boutique had banned her. They had no authority, no money, no connections. Jason's mind raced. What if it wasn't just Noah? Marino had hosted countless shows, large events, charity galas. How many others? How many families still waiting? Monique looked up, eyes hollow but fierce. A glimmer of determination beneath the exhaustion. The fight wasn't over. "If there are others," Monique said slowly, "other families, if we're not alone, if there's a pattern, maybe they'll have to listen." She didn't wait for agreement. She opened her laptop and began searching her Facebook. Missing persons groups, old news reports, state databases, archived bulletins buried behind paywalls and forgotten links. She filtered by age, by region, by year. Jason stayed beside her, scrolling, grant-checking, reading names out loud. Hours passed. Then the pattern surfaced. Young men, black, early 20s to late 20s, all interested in modeling, all from Louisiana or neighboring states. All had attended fashion shows, showcases, or networking events in Oak Ridge. All vanished shortly afterward. Different years. Same outcome. One disappeared after a summer runway event, another after a fall collection reveal. One after a charity fundraiser, another after a holiday showcase, another after a New Year gala. Between 2014 and 2018, 8 names surfaced. Every case stalled. Every investigation quietly closed. Each file stamped with the same conclusion. Subject likely left voluntarily. 9 men, including Noah. 9 families left waiting. Monique stared at the screen, hands clenched. "This isn't coincidence," she said. "It's a system." She began reaching out, cold messages, phone calls, late-night emails. She introduced herself the same way every time. "My name is Monique Dalton. My son disappeared after attending a fashion event hosted by Victor Marino. I believe something happened to him. I need to know if your loved one was connected to the same events. The first response came from Linda Green, Malcolm's mother. Linda listened in silence as Monique spoke. Then her composure broke. Yes, Linda said through tears. Malcolm went to that showcase. June 2016. He said it was finally his chance. Her voice cracked. He never came back. Police told me he probably moved to Atlanta. But Malcolm called me every day. He wouldn't leave without telling me. Call by call, the same story repeated. Different names. Same heartbreak. Sons who vanished after attending Marino-hosted events. Investigations that stalled before they started. Authorities who dismissed concerns. Families who never accepted the official explanation. 8 mothers, 8 confirmations. None of them had stopped searching. None of them had stopped knowing. Monique gathered them for a meeting. She called, coordinated, reassured, set a date, chose a place that felt safe. Her church, not a courtroom, not a police station. Somewhere people would listen. The meeting room was simple. Folding chairs formed a circle. Coffee steamed in disposable cups. Boxes of tissues sat on small tables. Space for grief, for anger, for questions. 9 mothers arrived, ages spanning 40 to 65, from different towns, Akron, Louisiana. Different backgrounds, different lives, bound together now by one unbearable truth. Their sons were missing. Black sons the system had ignored. Sons who had vanished, leaving only unanswered questions. Monique stood in the center, holding her phone. She showed the pictures she had taken at Marino Couture. "This is my son, Noah," she said, voice steady but trembling. "He's there, turned into a mannequin. And I think your sons might be there too. There are 5 mannequins in that back section. I believe they're all our children." The women leaned in, peering at the images. Gasps escaped, hands flew to mouths. Recognition. Horror. "That looks like Malcolm's build," whispered Linda Green. "Same height as Darius," said Tasha Blackwell. Same frame, same posture. One by one, the mothers spoke. Each story was heartbreakingly familiar. Sons who attended Marino's events then disappeared without a trace. Phone calls unanswered. No messages. Minimal police attention. Cases closed within weeks. The same explanation repeated. Adults have the right to leave. Likely relocated for opportunity. No evidence of foul play. Families who filed reports, who called weekly, who were dismissed, ignored, told to accept, to let go. But they never could. Mothers know. Sisters know. Brothers know. Family knows when something is wrong. "The system failed our children," Monique said, voice rising. "They didn't investigate. They didn't care enough. They closed cases to save time and resources. They assumed our sons didn't matter. Alone, they ignore us. But together, we can make them listen." Linda stood, her voice firm. "We organize. We document every failure, every closed case, every dismissal. We create a petition, take it to the media, pressure the authorities, demand accountability, make our sons visible, make them matter." Heads nodded around the circle. Determination replaced despair, bonded by tragedy, by injustice, by the refusal to let silence win. These mothers committed themselves to action. They drafted the petition, "Justice for Our Sons." Investigate Marino Couture. 9 names, 9 faces, 9 families demanding answers. They shared it online. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, local community groups, church networks, activist forums. One question hung above it all. Why were 9 young black men allowed to vanish without thorough investigation? Within days, the petition spread like wildfire. The response was immediate and overwhelming. What began as a few hundred names quickly swelled into thousands. Neighbors reposted it. Church groups circulated it. Community leaders spoke out. Local activists amplified it. Anger spread, followed by urgency. People demanded answers. During Sunday service, Oak Ridge pastor addressed the petition from the pulpit. By the end of the morning, volunteers had stepped forward. Meals were organized, transportation offered. Legal contacts shared. The families were no longer standing alone. Then the phone rang. A producer from a local television station wanted to talk. They had reviewed the petition. They wanted to tell the story. Momentum had arrived. By midweek, law enforcement could no longer pretend not to hear. Channel 5 News. Wednesday night, Monique Dalton sat beneath studio lights, posture composed, expression resolute. Behind her, a large screen displayed a photograph of Noah. The image lingered. A grant from her, anchor Sarah Brooks leaned forward. Measured, attentive, Bob Barr. "Miss Dalton, thank you for being here," she began. "Your son Noah went missing in March. Can you walk us through what happened?" Monique inhaled slowly. She had rehearsed this moment. Tone mattered. Precision mattered. "My son attended a fashion showcase at the Oak Ridge Convention Center," she said. "It was hosted by designer Victor Marino. Noah was trying to break into modeling. He was invited to meet privately afterward. He paused. The following evening he went to a workshop space behind Marino's boutique. That was March 17th. He never came home." Brooks nodded. "What did authorities conclude?" Barr. "They located his car at the convention center. No signs of violence, no forced entry. They decided he left by choice, assumed he'd relocated to pursue opportunities in another city. The case was closed within 3 weeks, BR, and you disagreed." "Yes." Her voice wavered, but only briefly. "My son contacted me every day. For 24 years. He never disappeared. He never stopped calling. He would not have left without telling me. I knew something had happened, but no one would hear me." She reached into her purse and unlocked her phone. "And then," she said quietly, "6 months later I found him." Images filled the screen. A mannequin's face. A side-by-side comparison with Noah's photograph. The similarities were unmistakable. "That mannequin," Monique continued, "has my son's features. The crooked nose from a childhood injury. The scar above his eyebrow. The birthmark on his cheek. Every detail matches." The studio fell silent. Sarah Brooks stared at the screen, visibly shaken. "You're saying you believe this mannequin is your son?" "I don't believe it," Monique said. "I know it. What response did you receive when you brought this to police?" "They dismissed it. Said mannequins sometimes resemble real people. Refused to examine it. Refused testing. Told us to stop contacting them or face charges for false reporting." She looked directly into the camera. "They told us to be quiet." One after another, the mothers stepped into frame. Different faces, different voices, the same story. Each described a son who had attended a Victor Marino-hosted event. Each described a disappearance that followed within days. Each described police reports filed, calls made, doors shut. Every case labeled the same way. Voluntary departure, no foul play, file closed. By the time the 8th mother finished speaking, the pattern was undeniable. Reporter Sarah Brooks went deeper. She obtained internal police records tied to all 9 disappearances. What she found was damning. Every case had been closed in under 21 days. Interviews were limited, leads were not pursued. The final note in each file used nearly identical wording, subject likely relocated of own accord. The segment aired that evening, then it aired again at 10. By morning it was everywhere. Online headlines spread fast, 9 missing black models linked to one fashion house. Clips circulated Acrant platforms. View counts exploded. By Thursday, state networks picked it up. By Friday, national media followed. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. Everyone wanted answers. .br. Social media ignited. .br. Hashtags surged into trending lists. BR Justice for Noah. .er Test mannequins. Oakridgeanine.br. Black Lives Matter. .br. Phones at City Hall rang non-stop. Email inboxes overflowed. Residents demanded explanations. Protesters gathered outside the police department, holding signs that read, "Find our sons, 9 families, no justice, test them now." The pressure became impossible to deflect. Saturday morning, Police Chief Rooney Mitchell stood before microphones, 60 years old, decades in uniform. His expression was tight, controlled, but strained. "We are formally reopening 9 missing persons investigations connected to Oak Ridge area fashion events," he announced. "We will conduct a comprehensive forensic review of Merino Couture's inventory. These allegations are being taken seriously." Within hours, 2 senior homicide detectives were assigned, Peter Donovan and Felicia Grant, both veterans. both known for meticulous work. They did not treat the case lightly. That afternoon, they arrived at Marino Couture. With them came a full forensic unit, a medical examiner, portable testing equipment, and a signed search warrant. Victor Marino greeted them with ease. Calm, polished, almost entertained. "You're welcome to inspect everything," he said smoothly. "This is a smear campaign, grief weaponized into rumor." He guided them toward the rear of the boutique. 9 male mannequins stood arranged beneath dim lighting. "These are part of my men's display," Marino explained. "Custom made, imported from Italy. Each one costs between $15,000 and $20,000. High-end craftsmanship. Nothing more." He gestured confidently. "Go ahead," he said. "You'll see it's the truth." Dr. Elias Morton unpacked his portable X-ray rig, industrial grade, designed to penetrate dense materials in the field. He positioned the first male figure, charcoal gray suit, the one Monique had singled out as her son. The machine powered on, a low hum filling the room. A moment later, the image flickered onto a nearby laptop screen. Everyone gathered, leaning in. The room went silent. The image was unmistakable. A human skeleton, vertebrae climbing the spine, ribs forming a cage, a pelvis, legs, arms, hands with each finger bone visible, skull intact, jaw, teeth, not hollow plastic, not foam. Actual human remains, preserved, coated, posed upright. Dr. Morton's face went pale. "This isn't a mannequin," he whispered. "It's a human body." Detective Peter Donovan acted immediately. "Victor Marino, you're under arrest for murder and desecration of human remains. You have the right to remain silent." Victor's composure wavered, a flicker of panic in his eyes. "This is a mistake. Those are mannequins. This is absurd. I want my lawyer. This is harassment. These families are lying." "Anything you say can and will be used against you," Peter said firmly, fastening handcuffs. "If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided." Detective Felicia Grant called for reinforcements. Backup crime scene unit, coroner, all needed. The boutique had instantly become a multiple homicide scene. Morton methodically moved down the line. Each of the remaining 8 figures revealed the same horrifying truth. Human skeletons, preserved, coated, displayed, 9 men, 9 lives ended, turned into lifelike figures, presented as luxury decor. The store was evacuated. Yellow crime scene tape cordoned off the entire back section. Forensics began the delicate process of removing the bodies. Outside, reporters crowded the sidewalks, shouting questions, cameras rolling. Felicia dialed Monique. "Miss Dalton, we found them, all 9. Your son, the others. I am so sorry." "You were right." The line went silent for a heartbeat. Then Monique collapsed, shaking, crying, grief and relief colliding. Jason caught her, arms around her trembling body. After 6 months of searching, after endless dismissals, threats, and isolation, Noah had been found. But the reality, the truth, was unbearable. Noah hadn't gone anywhere. He hadn't chased opportunity. He hadn't vanished into a new life in Atlanta. He had been killed, reduced to an object, and placed on display less than 3 miles from his mother's home. While she searched, while she pleaded, while she sat akrant from officers who told her to accept that he'd chosen to leave, he had been there the entire time, and no one cared enough to truly look until the families refused to disappear quietly with him, until they organized, until they forced the system to acknowledge them, to take notice, to act. The calls went out to the other families. Each one carried the same devastation. Years spent convincing themselves their sons were still alive somewhere, starting fresh, surviving without contact, maybe ashamed, maybe struggling, but alive. That hope was ripped away and replaced with something far worse. Linda Green collapsed when she was told. Her scream echoed through the house. Her son, Malcolm, had been on display for more than 2 years. 2 years. While she filed report after report, while she was told to stop calling, while she was advised to let go, 9 families received the same confirmation. 9 moments where the worst fear imaginable became fact. 9 lives forever altered by truth, horrifying, final, but still truth. After years of uncertainty, there were answers. After years of dismissal, there was accountability coming. The system had failed their sons, But they had not. They had searched. They had fought. They had refused to forget. And now, finally, someone was listening. Inside the Oak Ridge Police Department, the interrogation room was stark and cold. Concrete gray walls, a metal table bolted to the floor, 2 chairs, a camera fixed high in the corner. Victor Marino sat calmly, hands clasped, his attorney beside him quietly urging silence. Victor dismissed him with a wave. "I want to speak," he said evenly. "People deserve to understand." Detective Peter Donovan sat acrant from him. 48 years old, 2 decades in homicide. He had seen brutality, cruelty, calculated evil, but this case unsettled him in a way few ever had. "Why did you kill 9 young men, Mr. Marino?" Victor's expression remained disturbingly tranquil, almost reverent. "I didn't kill them," he replied. "I perfected them." Peter glanced toward Detective Felicia Grant, standing near the door. They didn't need words. The thought was mutual and immediate. This man was detached from reality. "You perfected them?" Peter repeated. "Explain." Victor leaned forward, animated now, eager. "I've studied ancient traditions for decades, rituals centered on preservation, on honoring beauty at its height. Certain cultures understood that perfection is fleeting and that it must be captured before decay begins." His voice was steady. Conviction absolute. These men represented the pinnacle of form. Youth, symmetry, strength. But time destroys all of that. Age erodes beauty. Flesh weakens. What's left when perfection fades? Peter's voice was flat. "So you murdered them?" Victor smiled faintly. "No," he said. "I saved them. Made them eternal. They were taken at the exact moment they mattered most," Victor said calmly. "Their bodies hadn't been altered by age or disappointment. Structure, presence, vitality, everything aligned. I preserved that instant so it would never decay." Detective Felicia Grant spoke from near the doorway, her voice sharp. "How did you select them?" "They came to me," Victor replied. "Through my events. 4 shows a year at the convention center, charity exhibitions, industry mixers, young men chasing opportunity. I watched them closely." His tone softened, almost reverent. "Some people carry a certain resonance. Balance, symmetry, a quality you don't learn, it's innate. I knew which ones were meant for more." "What happened once they were alone with you?" Peter asked. "I offered them something special," Victor said. "A private meeting, a promise of advancement. They were eager. Hope makes people trust." He paused. "I served champagne, rare bottles. They felt honored, grateful. They never suspected a thing. Beer and then?" "The sedative took hold," Victor continued evenly. "Drowsiness first, calm. I guided them to rest. They drifted off without fear, without pain." Peter clenched his jaw. "After they were unconscious." That's when the process began," Victor said. "I was trained in mortuary sciences decades ago. I followed proper procedures: drainage, chemical preservation, stabilization, every step precise, clinical, respectful." Felicia cranted her arms. "And the exterior?" "Layered treatment," Victor replied. "Sealing compounds, reinforcement. It creates a hardened surface that mimics resin. To the untrained eye and hand, it's indistinguishable from manufactured material." "Why keep them in the store?" Peter asked. "Why put them on display?" Victor looked genuinely puzzled. "Because visibility is essential. The transformation isn't complete unless they're witnessed, admired, absorbed unconsciously by others." He gestured vaguely. "Their presence elevates the space, transfers beauty. Completion requires observation." "You warned your employees not to touch them," Felicia said. "Of course. I told them they were priceless custom imports, 15, 20,000 each. They respected the boundary. I handled upkeep myself, cleaning, repositioning, ensuring nothing degraded." Peter leaned forward. "Did anyone assist you?" Victor shook his head slowly. "No, this was mine alone. My occultic group studied with me years ago, but they abandoned the work. I continued doing it alone." He met Peter's eyes. "Some call it madness. I call it devotion." "This was my personal ritual," Victor said quietly. "My ceremony, my offering." There was no hesitation in his voice, no shame, no flicker of doubt. He spoke as though he were describing a craft, not the calculated ending of 9 lives. In his mind, he hadn't destroyed those young men. He had perfected them, frozen them at what he believed was their highest value. To him, it was creation, not cruelty. Detective Peter Donovan pushed back his chair and stood. "Victor Marino," he said firmly, "you are being charged with 9 counts of first-degree murder, abuse and desecration of human remains, and the operation of an ongoing criminal enterprise. You will be held without bail pending trial." Marino didn't resist as officers led him away. He didn't protest. He didn't plead. He remained composed, still convinced history would eventually recognize his actions as misunderstood brilliance rather than monstrosity. Behind the one-way glass, Jason and Monique had witnessed every word. They had heard him describe the deaths, heard the calm precision, heard the absence of regret. Oakridge's body trembled violently. Jason wrapped his arms around her as she broke down, the sound that came from her unlike anything he'd ever heard before. It was grief, but it was also release. After months of being dismissed, threatened, ignored, someone finally believed them. There was proof now, there was truth, and justice was finally moving. In the days that followed, Dr. Elias Morton and his forensic team worked nearly non-stop. The process was painstaking. The bodies had been sealed beneath multiple industrial-grade preservation layers designed to conceal texture, temperature, even organic decay. Using microscopic entry points, the team extracted tissue samples from less fortified areas. Each sample was cataloged and rushed to the state laboratory. The results came back one at a time. Each confirmation landed like a hammer. Noah Dalton, 24. Missing since March 17, 2018. DNA match confirmed to Monique Dalton. Malcolm Green, 25. Missing June 12, 2016. Match confirmed to Linda Green. Darius Blackwell, 27. Missing November 8, 2016. Confirmed, Tristan Shaw, 23. Missing April 19, 2017. Confirmed, Cameron Price, 26. Missing August 3, 2017. Confirmed, Dante Rivers, 22. Missing December 14, 2017. Confirmed, Terrence Boyd, 28. Missing January 21, 2018. Confirmed, Devin Montgomery, 29. Missing February 9, 2018. Confirmed, Amir Douglas, 24. Missing March 18, 2018. Just one day after Noah. Confirmed, 9 young men, all black male models, all between 22 and 29, all drawn in by the same promise. All last seen at Victor Marino's events. Some of them had stood inside that boutique for nearly 2 years. 2 years of customers walking past them. 2 years of admiration. 2 years of people calling them elegant, flawless, artistic, while their families searched, while their mothers begged, while police told them to move on. They hadn't vanished. They had been hidden in plain sight, while families had searched desperately, while mothers cried themselves to sleep every night, while the system dismissed every concern. Justice had not yet reached them. Detective Peter made the calls personally. 9 families, 9 conversations, 9 unbearable confirmations. He called Monique first. "Miss Dalton, DNA testing confirms the mannequin in Grantee Couture is your son Noah. I am so deeply sorry. His remains will be released for proper burial after evidence collection is complete." Monique already knew. She had felt it from the moment she saw that mannequin. But confirmation was different, final, absolute, no more hope, no more maybe he was alive somewhere, no more possibility of a miracle. Definitely gone, murdered, displayed for 6 months. She collapsed. Jason caught her, held her, as she sobbed uncontrollably, screamed, and made sounds no mother should ever have to make. The other families received similar calls, each revelation shattering their hearts. Linda Green screamed when told about Malcolm. Over 2 years displayed, over 2 years while she searched, filed reports, hired investigators, begged police to act. Tasha Blackwell broke down completely. Darius had been displayed for almost 2 years. 2 years while she called weekly, while authorities dismissed her, told her to move on. 9 families. 9 impossible truths. 9 lives destroyed, confirmed, But within that devastation was also relief. Relief at finally knowing. Relief at having answers after months, years, of agonizing uncertainty. Now they could begin to grieve properly. Now they could honor their sons. The families gathered again at Oak Ridge Fellowship, a support group formed not by choice but by tragedy. United by grief, by systemic failure, and by an unyielding determination to ensure justice and remembrance. No longer would their sons be remembered as mannequins, not as objects, but as people, sons, humans who mattered. Jason stayed with Monique, never leaving her side. Other friends and community members supported their families. The church provided counseling, resources, space to grieve. 9 families now forever bonded. Tragedy had forged them into a force, finding strength in one another, purpose, and hope that justice would finally prevail. The trial was set for December. 3 months away, 3 months to prepare, 3 months to ensure Victor Marino would never harm another soul. December 2018, Oak Ridge County Courthouse. The trial of Victor Marino began. The courthouse overflowed. Every bench was taken. People lined the walls. 9 families sat together in the front rows, hands linked, shoulders touching. Each wore a small photo pinned to their clothes, not decorations, but reminders. These were sons, not displays, not objects. Human beings. Outside, news vans crowded the street. National outlets called it one of the most disturbing criminal cases Louisiana had ever seen. Inside the courtroom, Victor Marino entered without emotion. He entered a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity. His defense built its case around belief. They argued Marino suffered from a severe delusional disorder, religious and grandiose in nature, that he truly believed he was carrying out a sacred act, that in his mind he wasn't killing anyone, he was preserving, elevating, saving beauty. According to the defense, Marino could not comprehend that what he was doing was morally or legally wrong. The prosecution dismantled that narrative piece by piece. They showed how Marino selected victims intentionally, young men he met at his own fashion events, how he offered private meetings disguised as career opportunities, how he drugged them knowingly, how he used specialized mortuary techniques to preserve their bodies, how he displayed them publicly while continuing to run a profitable business, how he instructed staff never to touch the mannequins, how he banned customers who became suspicious, how he threatened police involvement when questioned. This wasn't confusion. This was concealment. And concealment, the prosecution argued, requires awareness. Psychiatric experts took the stand. For the defense, Dr. Helen Green testified that Marino lived inside a belief system he could not separate from reality, that he genuinely viewed his acts as spiritual necessity, that in his mind he was creating something sacred, not committing murder. She concluded he lacked the capacity to recognize wrongdoing. Then the prosecution called Dr. Raymond Lee. "Yes, Mr. Marino has mental illness," he said, "but it does not meet the legal standard for insanity." Dr. Lee explained that Marino clearly understood his actions violated social and legal norms. He hid evidence. He controlled access. He threatened consequences. He reacted defensively when challenged. Those behaviors demonstrated awareness that society would condemn his actions. He knew others would see it as wrong, Dr. Lee said, and he acted accordingly. That is not insanity. That is choice. Then the evidence came. X-ray images filled the courtroom screens, human skeletons inside what had been sold as mannequins. DNA reports confirmed every identity, one by one. And then the journals, not rambling, not chaotic, methodical, detailed entries cataloging each victim, why they were selected, what made them ideal, dates, outcomes, placement, JP, exceptional symmetry, chosen, March 17, preservation successful, display complete, TM, strong frame, ideal proportions, elevated, no remorse, no doubt, only pride. The jury didn't need imagination. Everything was written down. On June 12th, he reached a state of spiritual elevation. His methods were precise and his crimes were treated as acts of public devotion. He documented 9 murders as if they were art projects, showing no remorse, only pride in his craftsmanship. Victor leaned forward in the witness chair, ignoring his lawyer's anxious warnings. He wanted to speak, to make sure the room understood exactly what he believed he was doing. Calm, precise, certain. Ancient peoples had knowledge we've lost, he said softly. Capturing someone at their peak, it preserves something essential. Stops time from taking what is perfect. He gestured toward the photographs of the mannequins in his store. Look at them. Still unchanging. Eternal. Better than life, better than death, better than being forgotten. I preserved them. I gave them purpose. I made them into art, he went on, describing each of the young men, the careful attention with which he had selected them. I noticed balance, strength, energy, a kind of readiness, he said. I invited them for private consultations. Excited, ambitious, trusting, they came willingly. I offered champagne, fine vintages, a touch of sedation. They never realized, never suffered. They simply rested. Victor's voice never wavered. Then I began the preservation. Precise traditional techniques, drain, treat, position. Layers of coating, smooth and hard like fiberglass to the touch. But inside they remain intact, perfect, visible, public. That is essential. The display completes the process. Their energy flows to those who behold them. Admiration, elevation, subtle, unnoticed, yet real. The courtroom was hushed. Some mothers wept openly, others covered their mouths, shaking in disbelief. But Victor seemed unmoved by the horror around him. He truly believed he had given a gift. Art, sacred work, a blessing, he said. The prosecutor leaned forward. And the families, Mr. Marino? 9 families, desperate, pleading, searching for years. Mothers who cried every night, sons who disappeared. Investigations ignored, reports dismissed. What do you say to them? Victor's eyes scanned the front rows, locking briefly on Monique, then Linda, Tasha, and the others. His gaze was steady, unashamed, certain. You should be grateful, Victor said, voice calm, almost serene. Your sons are eternal, perfect, immortal. A gift I have given them. One day you'll see, one day you'll understand, one day you'll thank me. The courtroom exploded, shouts, cries, screams. One mother lunged toward the railing, only to be restrained by bailiffs. The judge slammed his gavel, demanding silence, threatening to clear the room. But the impact was undeniable. Everyone, especially the jury, saw the full weight of Victor's lack of remorse, his certainty, his conviction that families should praise him. The prosecution concluded. The defense called character witnesses, neighbors describing a kind man, church members praising generosity, colleagues noting his charity work and community support. On the surface, he was normal, respected, trusted. No one would suspect the horror hidden beneath the polished exterior. While the city admired him, he had been murdering young men and displaying them as mannequins in plain sight. The jury deliberated for 4 days. The families gathered at Oak Ridge Fellowship, clinging to each other, praying, hoping, dreading the outcome. Finally, Saturday afternoon, the call came. The verdict was ready. Everyone rushed to the courthouse. The jury entered, faces serious. The judge addressed them. On count 1, first-degree murder of Noah Dalton. How do you find the defendant? Guilty. On count 2, Malcolm Green. Guilty. Count 3, Darius Blackwell. Guilty. Count 4, Tristan Shaw. Guilty. Count 5, Cameron Price. Guilty. Count 6, Dante Rivers. Guilty. Count 7, Terrence Boyd. Guilty. Count 8, Lucas Pierce. Guilty. Count 9, Amir Douglas. Guilty. 9 first-degree murder convictions. Guilty on every count. The courtroom erupted. Families clung together, sobbing, screaming with a mixture of grief and relief, a long-awaited vindication. Jason held Monique tightly, both shaking, both crying. At last the world had listened. At last Victor Marino was accountable. Victor himself remained motionless, face blank, expression unreadable, still convinced he had done nothing wrong, still believing history would vindicate him. 2 weeks later, the sentencing hearing convened in the same packed courtroom. 9 families waited, ready to speak, to be heard, to confront the man who had taken everything from them. The judge allowed victim impact statements. Monique approached the podium first, standing tall despite shaking hands, eyes locked on Victor Marino. Her voice trembled but carried strength. You took my son, my only child, my Noah. He was 24. He had ambitions. Wanted to model, walk runways, make me proud, show the world what a black boy from Louisiana could achieve. Her voice cracked. You enticed him with promises, career opportunities, a private consultation. He came willingly, trusting you. You drugged him, murdered him, and turned him into a display. Tears streaked her face. You showed him in your store for 6 months. While I searched, cried myself to sleep, begged the police for help, my son was just 3 miles away when his best friend realized. When Jason recognized him, law enforcement dismissed it. Your boutique rejected him because he was young, black, poor, while you were wealthy, white, respected. The system shielded you. Not my son, not us. Her hands clenched the podium. I will never hold him again. Never hear his laughter, watch him succeed, see him marry, meet his children. You stole all of that. My son's future, my life as his mother, and you feel nothing. No remorse, no guilt. Pride, that is what makes you monstrous. Other mothers spoke next. Linda Green, Tasha Blackwell, one after another, their words mirroring her grief. You destroyed our lives. You stole our sons. You put them on display while we searched, desperate, helpless. But you did not break us completely. We endured. We fought. And we won justice. The judge absorbed every statement, notes in hand, watching the families. Then he fixed Victor Marino with a cold stare. Mr. Marino, you committed unspeakable crimes. 9 young men taken in the prime of life, their remains violated, publicly displayed as art. You operated for years without detection while maintaining a respected standing in this community. Your lack of remorse is appalling. Your beliefs provide no excuse. You knew right from wrong. You were fully aware your actions were illegal. You concealed evidence, covered your tracks, banned anyone who grew suspicious, even threatened them with arrest. That proves knowledge of wrongdoing. The judge's voice was steady, unyielding. For your crimes, this court sentences you to 9 consecutive life sentences, without the possibility of parole. You will spend the rest of your life in prison. You will never harm anyone again. May God have mercy on your soul, because this court will not. Bailiffs led Victor Marino from the courtroom. He remained unnervingly calm, still certain of his righteousness. He paused briefly, glanced back at the families one last time. One day you'll understand, he murmured. I gave them eternity. Then he was gone, escorted through a side door into confinement forever. Outside the courthouse, the families faced the waiting media. Cameras flashed, microphones captured every word. Monique spoke first, Jason by her side, steady, supportive. Behind them stood all 9 families, united in grief and relief. Justice has been served today, she said. Victor Marino will spend the rest of his life in prison. He can never hurt anyone again. But our work is far from over. She paused, letting the weight of her words settle. 9 young men died because the system failed them. Cases closed in 3 weeks, investigations half-hearted, assumptions made, lives of black men deemed less important. That must change. We are fighting for systemic reform, stronger missing person protocols, mandatory follow-ups, accountability regardless of race or income. Every disappearance deserves attention. Every family deserves to be heard. That is Victor Marino's real legacy, not the horror he created, but the reform we are building to ensure no one else suffers like we did. The families returned to Oak Ridge Fellowship, their sanctuary. They held one another, cried together, and began the slow, painful work of healing. Justice had been served, but loss remained. Their sons would never return, and the years spent searching could never be recovered. Yet answers had been found. Closure had been achieved. They had each other. They had purpose. They vowed to keep their sons' memories alive, to push for lasting change, to make sure this tragedy would never repeat. By September 2020, 2 years after the discovery, Oak Ridge had transformed. The city that had failed these 9 families, the police department, the system that had undervalued black lives, had begun to change. Out of grief and tragedy, something more just had emerged. Where Marino Couture had once stood, only empty ground remained. The building had been demolished, torn down. No one wanted that place left standing, too tainted by the horrors that had occurred there, too haunted by its past. The city acquired the land and transformed it into a legacy park. The Garden of Light. 9 granite monuments formed a circle. Each bore a name, a photograph capturing life. Not death, not mannequins. They remembered the young men as they had truly been, sons, friends, dreamers, humans who had loved and laughed and hoped. Noah Dalton, 1994 to 2018. Aspiring model, beloved son, dreamer with a heart bigger than his ambitions. Malcolm Green, 1991 to 2016. Aspiring model, beloved son, always spreading joy. Darius Blackwell, 1989 to 2016. Aspiring model, beloved son, devoted to mentoring youth. And 6 others, each monument a testament to a life stolen, a future cut short, a family forever changed. Families planted trees. Volunteers maintained flower beds. Benches were placed for reflection. Winding paths invited quiet walks through the sacred space. Peaceful, beautiful, reverent. The dedication ceremony took place on September 15th, exactly 2 years after Jason had entered that store and discovered the first mannequin. Hundreds attended. The 9 families stood in the front rows, united by grief and resilience. Jason remained at Rosa's side, both shaped by the years of loss, advocacy, and healing. Older, more somber, yet stronger. The mayor addressed the crowd, speaking of accountability, lessons learned, and the commitment to honor the lives of these young men through concrete change. The police chief outlined reforms, stricter protocols for missing persons, mandatory follow-ups, no assumptions, no closed cases without proper investigation, better training, increased resources, and active community oversight. Then Rosa was invited to speak. She stepped to the podium, gazed at the monuments, drew a deep breath, and began, "2 years ago, my son's best friend discovered him. Noah turned into a mannequin displayed in a store. He called the police 4 times. They dismissed him, treated him like a prank caller, as if his word didn't matter, because he was a young black man, and the store owner was rich and respected. But Jason didn't give up. He told me, 'We will find the truth, together.' We organized. We located 8 other families, 8 other sons who had vanished. We created a petition, went to the media, forced an investigation, exposed the truth." She gestured toward the 9 monuments. 9 young men were murdered, 9 sons turned into objects displayed publicly, some for over 2 years. Today we honor them. Today we make sure they are remembered as the people they were, not as mannequins, not as art, not as objects, as our sons, as human beings who mattered. While we searched, while we begged authorities to act, while the system failed us again and again, we did not fail them. We found them. We fought. We demanded justice. And now we make sure their lives are never forgotten." Rosa looked over the crowd. These 9 young men had ambitions. Noah dreamed of walking fashion runways. Malcolm longed to act. Darius hoped to model and mentor younger generations. Each had plans, goals, futures, stolen by Victor Marino. But he could not steal their memory. He could not steal our love. He could not erase their legacy. Their legacy is this garden. This legacy, the reforms we fought for, the police protocols that now demand thorough investigation of missing persons, support systems built for families, faith restored in black families that their voices will be heard. That is what these 9 men left us, not through dying, but through our refusal to let them fade into silence, our refusal to accept injustice, our insistence on truth. Jason stepped forward. 28 now, running the nonprofit they had created, Black Missing Persons Advocacy, helping families navigate investigations, keeping cases alive, ensuring no one else experiences what they endured. "I found my best friend by accident," he said. "A routine shopping trip. I wandered to the back of the store and saw a mannequin. It looked like Noah. I knew immediately, knew in my soul. I called police. They came once, searched for 2 minutes and left. Told me I was wasting my time. The store owner banned me. threatened arrest if I returned. I felt powerless, helpless. Because in this system, the word of a young black man is worth nothing. But I didn't stop. I told Noah's mother. She organized the families. Together, we made them listen. Together, we forced them to investigate. Together, we made them care. And we were right. Noah was there. 8 others, too. All dismissed by authorities, all overlooked, forgotten, until we refused to stay silent. Jason's eyes rested on Noah's monument. Noah was my brother, not by blood, but by choice. We grew up together, shared dreams, supported each other. He wanted to succeed, to make his mother proud, to show that black boys from the countryside can achieve anything. He never got that chance. But his death sparked change. His life, his memory, inspires action. That is the legacy Victor Marino could never take from us. Families circled the monuments. Each family stood at their son's stone, placing flowers, touching the granite, whispering names aloud. Remembering, honoring, loving. Jason and Rosa lingered the longest at Noah's monument, holding hands, silent, letting grief and resolve coexist. Both crying, both grieving, yet both beginning to heal. Both feeling gratitude and devastation at the same time. Rosa laid her hand on the warm granite. Rest now, baby. Mama made sure your life is remembered, made sure you mattered, made sure justice reached you. Her voice faltered. I love you forever. You're home. You're safe. And I will keep fighting. For you. For all 9 of you. For every missing person who needs someone to care, to believe, to act. Jason placed his hand beside hers. I miss you, brother, every day. But your life wasn't in vain. Your death changed everything. It changed me. It changed this community. It changed how we honor black lives. I'm helping other families now, making sure no one else suffers what we went through. No mother should cry for years not knowing. That is your legacy, Noah. That is how your life matters. That is how you changed the world. They stood together, mother and friend, united by love. United by tragedy that drew them closer, united by the fight for justice that gave them purpose, united by the refusal to give up that transformed a system. The sun warmed the garden, birds sang in newly planted trees, flowers blossomed in beds tended with care, families whispered quietly to each other, offering support, sharing grief, beginning to heal, a sacred place where 9 young men were remembered. A space where 9 families found each other, where justice was acknowledged, where love triumphed over cruelty. Victor Marino remained imprisoned, his name forever tied to horror, to evil, to monstrosity. But these 9, Noah, Malcolm, Darius, Tristan, Cameron, Dante, Terrence, Devin, Malik, their names became symbols of love, memory, resilience, justice, hope. 9 young men who mattered then, who matter now, who will always matter. Their garden grows. Their legacy endures. Their memory is honored. Their deaths spark change that saves lives. Their families remain united. Their stories continue to be told. Their names, never forgotten, forever remembered.